Yes, hello, this is Martha Guptill with CelebrityCharities.com, and I'm at the Mid-Atlantic Nostalgia Convention, and that is located in Hunt Valley, Maryland. And it's 2016 year, and I'm here with the Amazing Kreskin. What a wonderful gentleman
How are you,
to meet.
Martha?
I'm wonderful.
By the way, folks, even though this is taped, they're not going to erase this. I want to promise you I'm not going to read Martha's thoughts on the air. I'm only joking, Martha.
Oh, okay.
She is
Well, you
safe.
tell me after.
She is safe.
Tell me after. Tell me after. I'd love to know.
You know, it's an interesting atmosphere because I travel all the time. I'm only home 4 days a month. And the airline industry just announced a few months ago I've now flown in my career a little over 3 million miles. So, and in fact, 2 years ago, I was in Spain, Italy, New Zealand, Australia, Japan, Wales, Netherlands, Canada, United States. And the amount of appearances 2 years ago with radio, TV, and concerts was exactly 364 appearances around the world. I am told that they don't know of anyone in the entertainment area that has that kind of schedule, but my work's been like an adventure.
Oh, and I guess so. I mean, with various seminars that you must go to.
And the shows are constantly. And, you know, I even wrote a book. This is my 20th book called In Real Time. And people in the industry for a long time have been saying, with all the people that you work with, the thoughts that you perceive, whether it's Japan or the Middle East or at 5.5 years in Saudi Arabia here, you must have feelings of what's going on. So I wrote this book, my 20th, which is my predictions of how the world is going to change in the next 500 years, 1,000 years. It's not written in stone, but my warning to young people looking in is, for God's sakes, and hear what I'm saying, because you'll regret this if you didn't pay attention to what I've said, we'd better learn from history. We've been warned a long time ago. If we don't learn from history, we tend to repeat it, and we are going to repeat history.
Yes. Yes. Oh my. And sir, you also have had a television show that you had
5.5 years.
And a board game.
And then the various. I get a kick out of. Well, now they're repeating the Carson shows. I did 88 shows with Carson, and Regis 105, and Jimmy Fallon, who I love working with, is new, so that's only a dozen or so. But television has been good. What I get a kick out of, and you know, I could not have predicted this in spite of my work, that my name keeps. I love it that my name is introduced in sports events, news. The past 2 weeks, I've been mentioned on Bill O'Reilly telling Donald Trump, "Who do you think you are, the Amazing Kreskin?" To Anderson on CNN just 2 days ago saying, you know, they need Kreskin, not P.T. Barnum. To on another news show, one of the gals saying, you know, I think that Donald Trump thinks he's the Amazing Kreskin. Now, I'm not endorsing. If you look at the internet, there's pictures of me with Hillary Clinton and with Donald Trump, but I performed in their homes. I've performed a great deal in Washington. So I'm not revealing who I'm voting for, but I will, who I believe is going to win. I'm going to make a prediction that's going to be sealed shortly, because I predicted the last 4 elections. In the case of the last election, NBC sealed it in a safe on Jimmy Fallon's show 1.5 years before the election took place. But the other thing I can say about this election, as far as whom I personally would vote for, the person I'm voting for, and I mean this absolutely seriously, is of the two of them, the person I think will do less harm than the other. And I mean less harm. There's a message there. I have nothing against politicians. I just wish most of them had been in the Titanic.
Mr. Kreskin, I have a question back from behind the camera. I read that you recently worked with some athletes to help train them and greatly enhance their abilities through your mental training. And could you tell us?
Well, one of them was Heather, who she was a boxer. Now, I'm not into sports. I jog a half hour every night.
Yes.
But people will say, well, you've worked with golfers, you work with marksmen in contests, but how would you work with a boxer? And she's a female boxer. Well, I'm not going to give her more strength. There's nothing supernatural about what I did, but she's now become, it's either the light heavyweight champion of the world, whatever it was. The fight was in New York, and a few months ago they had me in the ring after the fight because I had worked with her so long. I trained her so that she was so sensitive to her opponent that she anticipated the blows before the person threw them. And a blow is the damaging thing in boxing, and she won and brought me on to the ring saying, this is one of the reasons I won. So it was an interesting, but it was nothing psychic. She wasn't reading anyone's thoughts. I made her sensitive to the movements and the action of the person. So,
That's
but
amazing.
the other thing people can learn from this is we are, and I've discussed this in many seminars with sociologists, we are losing our communications with our fellow man. Everyone agrees with this. You're sitting with a machine on a table there and relying on that. You show me someone who has 200 friends on the internet, and I will show you a very lonely person. And college students, and I've done over 1,000 university shows this country and Canada, write me 2 years later and say, Kreskin, now I know what you meant. I knew all these people, but friendship is a two-way experience. You must touch the person, whether it's verbally or in person, not just doing something on a machine.
Absolutely, it's the human contact, the actual
And
conversing.
we don't hear each other like we once did. We really do not pay attention. I have never mentioned this publicly, but a lot of press who've been with me know about it. I do a lot of shows for corporate groups, and sometimes the press will be there, and they'll talk to me after the show. They'll say, I'm going to teach you something. There's a little reception after the program. The president of this company and maybe 20 of his people are there and what have you. They want me to come in and say hello. So I'll go in, and I say to the reporter, don't you interrupt me, and don't you react, just stay a few feet behind me. I've done this now maybe 70, 80 times through the years. I'll walk in, the gentleman will say, Mr. Kreskin, I said, oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. I just raped your wife. How did you feel about this part of the program? Oh, I enjoyed that. It was fascinating what you did. And you'll hear reporters say, I stood behind him. His exact phrase was, I just raped your wife. Once in a while there's a pause, then they'll go on talking because what they may thought of, they didn't really hear. Unless we expect certain things, we block off what we hear around us. And they said they couldn't. It wasn't that I was saying it fast. It wasn't that I was confusing people. I said it directly. But if you have a mindset, you will hear what you expect to hear and not otherwise.
Mr. Kreskin,
That's fascinating.
Just Kreskin. People call me other things when they're angry, but we dare not mention that.
Kreskin,
Kreskin.
again, from behind the camera, you've just kind of given me a revelation, and I have to thank you for this. Have you ever worked with to help through some of these mental abilities to teach mental abilities to like autistic children and help them with their communication?
I have done seminars for various groups. I can't teach people to read thoughts as I do, but I taught them how to tune themselves in better to others. But I'll tell you what, one of the great satisfactions of my life has been, very little known about this. There's only maybe a half a dozen became public. I have worked on 84 crime cases in my career.
Oh, my.
Many of them major cases. Not that I was given an object and said, Kreskin, what? No, I worked with people who were potential witnesses and did not get the information clear that they were exposed to, helped to jog their minds. I'm going to give you a dramatic case because just a few months ago in another part of the country, I had a concert and I was in a theater and I asked if some gentleman would volunteer. This man came on the stage. I said to him, have we ever met? He says, yeah, Kreskin, it was. I said, please, sir, I love having you up here, but I don't, this is not rigged what I do. It's not a magic act. Maybe after the show you could say hello. How did I know you? He said, I was hit by a car. And I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, sir, I'd like you to stay on this stage. I did not know you since you left, evidently, the Essex County. Tell the story. 15 or 20 years ago, he was walking down the street in Caldwell, New Jersey. He was hit by a car and thrown 72 feet. 70 feet. They pronounced him dead. One of the police came along and said, I think this man is surviving. That turns out, thank God, they got him. And you see him today, I would have never known that he would have, this had happened to him. But there were 3 witnesses to this hit and run, 3 women. The police brought them immediately to my office because I was home those few days. They said, Kreskin, they're so hysterical, they saw a car and a man flying, they didn't even know what happened. I couldn't work with one of the women. One of the other 2 I was able to work with, and I was able to cause them to see the license plate, and one of them only saw part of it, the other saw a same number, and the other part, they finally put a license plate together again. That car was found the next day in another state outside of New Jersey. The man who stole it and was driving it was apprehended and taken to court because of almost killing a person. It would end there. And this gentleman who came up on stage he says, I want you to know that I know this story because I was the victim of this crime. I said, you don't know the aftermath because very few people know about it. 2 months or 3 months later, my brother, who was a policeman in the area for 18 years, came and he says, these 2 gentlemen from this department want to see you. I said, there must be a crime case. I said, I know you. They said, Kreskin, this is not a new case. I said, yes, the gentleman hit by a car. They said, didn't we send you somebody a few months earlier, a gentleman, they described him, and you had difficulty. I said, I remember the gentleman. I'm sorry I couldn't help you on that case. I could not get a good rapport with him. I finally said, sir, please don't feel offended. I can't work with you. I've got to ask you to leave. I said, yes, I remember that. They said, Kreskin, it's a good thing that you asked him to leave. Probably that meant something intuitively. I said, what do you mean? They said, the case of the gentleman, the case you solved, the hit and run. I said, yes. They said, that was the gentleman who almost killed the young man that was hit by a car. And we want you to know, after the case was solved, he was the head of the mafia here in Essex County, New Jersey. You want to hear a case that almost sounds like a fiction story with a postscript like that, I could go on for some 80-some cases. So that's a side of my career people don't know about.
Well, that's incredible.
They want me, some people in the industry, even in the film industry, are saying, my God, you've got so many incidents. Yes. One quick case, I'll wrap it up real quick, is because it has a personal thing to me. I was called in on a case in Elizabeth, New Jersey, a couple of years ago. The police were there, and it was a large family. A tremendous amount of jewelry was stolen, gone. And I met with the different people, and when it was all over, I said to the police, I said, I know you feel you solved the crime. I said, I can't judge people, but I don't even get any suspicion of all the people I talked to. They said, no, Kreskin, we told you we know who did it. It's Dr. Cy Fish. We gave him a polygraph test and what have you, and he failed it. I argued with them, shouted, because Dr. Fish happened to be, he's no longer with us, one of my 5 closest lifelong friends. I said, you realize that people fail a polygraph test. In New Jersey, it's no longer accepted, partly because of my position and because of what, and polygraph experts agree with you can't, that doesn't say someone's lying or not. They can be under stress. I said, he's innocent. We argued that was it. Now, that man had that carrying over him. He was never charged because they had no other evidence. But can you imagine some who heard this felt, that's the man who did the stealing. Postscript. Some years later, the elderly couple that lived there, one had died, the other one died. The family, some related to Dr. Fish, came in to clean up the house, cleaning up the laundry chute, and there at the bottom was all the jewelry. One of the 2 members with Alzheimer's had thrown it all down there, and here a man had been found guilty, and he wasn't guilty. I could go on, but those are some of the stories.
That is incredible. That is incredible.
My life has been an adventure. As one reviewer said a couple of years ago in Pittsburgh, he was reviewing a show after seeing it 3 nights. He says, watching Kreskin and seeing these incidents that seemed to be so varied, he says it would be like my coming to a play that's a mystery play, but the solution is different every night because each night he has something. So my life is exciting.
Did you start out as
A mentalist.
as a child? Did
Yes,
you know?
I knew what I wanted
You
to do
knew?
when I was 9 years old. I started finding objects because my family would be concentrating. I'm Polish and Italian. My grandparents did not speak English. They were from Sicily. Someone hid a penny upstairs at my grandmother's house. And I walked through the house and walked up on a chair and reached behind a curtain rod and was holding the penny. And today, in all my performances, in private, public, Minnesota State Fair, which was 11,000, Oregon State Fair, 30,000, that was outdoors, I turned my check over to a committee from the audience that I've never met, usually 5 or 6. Another committee takes me out of the stage, either out of the theater or if it's outdoor show into a truck that they barricade or close off, and my check is hidden anywhere in the theater, what have you. I'm called back. No one speaks to me. There's no guessing game. They have to think of what they've done, and if I don't find my check, I forfeit it. It goes back to the company that booked me, and the show's for free. I've only failed 10 times out of 6,000, but the most famous failure was in New Zealand at a coliseum. I love the country. I've toured there many times. But this one night I failed. I lost that one night in New Zealand $51,000. It went to a crippled children's hospital. They named a wing after me, and every time I go to visit the kids there, I say, you know, the night this happened to me, I could have used one of your rooms.
Well, right. Well, your check definitely went to greater good. And are there any other organizations or charities?
Well, just one very quick. You will hear me announce in the near future, because I love animals. I have a great passion for animals. I have a couple of cats. I have 4. If I didn't travel, I'd have 6 dogs, 4 cats, a pig, because pigs are very, very intelligent.
Intelligent, yes.
And you can learn a lot about people the way they treat animals. Just shortly, the mayor of Caldwell, they're bringing me in because they're doing a fundraiser. What an inspiring group. It's a group of volunteers that are going to put together an organization to help when a man or a woman is abused in a home, has to separate for a period of time. If there's a pet there, instead of being the pet lost, it's going to go to a couple who will take care of that pet until the family thing is put together again. It'll be returned. The other side is I'm being involved, and this multimillionaire came to me and said, Kreskin, we'd like your name under, you'll hear an announcement shortly, a group that every month goes to a state like Georgia, comes home with 200 dogs that were sentenced to be put away because there's no place for them, brings them to New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania, and has already a home for each dog. So this, we have to realize, and the final thing I can say, with everything that's happening on earth right now, we might got to remember one thing, and just remember this: we are sharing this earth. We're sharing it. We're not possessing everything, and these animals are very important. By the way, just a tongue-in-cheek, and you can smile as we say goodbye. You know why dogs make better friends than people? I've been quoted all over the world, including in a German novel. The reason dogs make better friends than people is they wag their tails, not their tongues. Good to see you.
Same here. And Mr. Kreskin.
Just Kreskin.
Kreskin.
Just Kreskin.
How do you have a website that?
AmazingKreskin.com.
All right.
AmazingKreskin.com. You'll see it there. You'll see scores of shows from amongst the 88 Carson shows to everything else. That's AmazingKreskin.com. Good to see you guys.
Same here. Thank you.
These 5 minutes went fast.
Yes, they did.
Sir,